Good morning, I'm the Reverend Stephen Page for St. Patrick's Anglican Church. This month, our radio devotionals, which are sponsored by the Hudson Bay Ministerial, will be using images from the world of sports, and we'll use them to illustrate our spiritual and our scriptural topics this month. Now today, I'm wearing my green Rough Riders jersey because I'm a big fan. The Riders have much to be proud of. We've got 3 Grey Cup championships in the history, and also probably the best and the most rabid fan base really in the country. But today I want to draw a lesson from one of the moments we Rough Rider fans are not so proud of. So let me take you back to November 29, 2009. It was the 97th Grey Cup game played in Calgary. Riders' opponent that day was the Montreal Alouettes. Some of you may already see where I'm going with this. Well, the Riders dominated most of the game. They led 17-3 at the half. They got their points on an Andy Fantus touchdown and on 3 field goals by Luca Conji. And then Saskatchewan pushed the lead even bigger and led 27-11 after a Darian Durant 16-yard run just 4.5 minutes into the fourth quarter. We all know that scoring can happen very quickly in the CFL, but things looked really promising. I mean, there was a 16-point lead going into the final 10 minutes of that Grey Cup game. The Alouettes, though, they were a very good team. They had a 15-3 one-loss record that year, and it was no accident. Veteran quarterback Anthony Calvillo, he then took control and he led them to 2 touchdowns, closing the gap to 27-25 with just under 2 minutes to play. If only the Riders could have run out the clock. But their offense sputtered and went 2 and out, so they punted the ball back to Montreal. And Calvillo then drove Montreal to the Riders' 36-yard line. With just seconds remaining in the game, Montreal place kicker Damon Duval came on, and he was going to try a game-winning field goal. But his kick sailed wide to the right, and the Riders' receiver, he ran it out of the end zone, and the celebration began because the Riders had won the Grey Cup. But wait, what's that little colored piece of cloth over there on the field? Yeah, it's a penalty on the Riders. Too many men on the field. They needed 12 men on the field, but they had 13. Someone had forgotten their assignment, or someone had forgotten to count noses, or something. Well, the penalty moved the ball 10 yards closer to the uprights, and on the do-over, Duval hit the Grey Cup winning field goal to the horror of the Riders and all of us, their fans. I was pleased, I must say, that the team refused to point any fingers at any individual in the height of the emotional reaction after the game. Maybe they remembered a few years earlier when kicker Paul McCallum missed really a gimme field goal in a playoff game against the BC Lions. In that game, the villain was obvious, and some hooligans unfortunately took their revenge by egging his house and dumping a load of manure in his driveway, and so on. None of that happened after this Grey Cup, as the team refused to blame anyone. And maybe the blame was widely shared, since most any coach or player involved could have noticed that the formation for the play didn't look right now. We've got an extra body around. Well, if it was the job of any one or several people, the job of counting noses on the field on that crucial play was forgotten. And the result was an embarrassing penalty and a very costly penalty. We can, of course, forgive them. I think most of us have. After all, it's only human to forget something in the midst of stress or in the excitement of winning a championship. Why, sometimes in our lives, we all too easily forget God. We get busy with work, or skating, or family, or any number of other things, and God gets bumped from first place in our lives to second, to third, to 103rd. And we stop praying, or reading the Bible, or going to the weekly worship services. We stop listening to God. And God knew that this would happen. Way back in the Old Testament, in the book of Deuteronomy, God told his people, "Be careful that you do not forget the Lord." Sadly, it's very easy. But when you realize that you have been forgetting God, leaving God out of your daily lives, that is the time to turn back to God, to renew your commitment to daily prayer and daily study, to weekly worship, to participating in God's mission in the world. As in the story of the prodigal son in Luke 15, God longs to see you return and will welcome you with open arms. Open arms, not a 10-yard penalty. Remember God today and return to Him. For St. Patrick's Church, I'm the Reverend Stephen Page.